Welcome to the Deep Dive. We've got a massive stack of sports journalism reports, transfer rumors, and financial analyses sitting right in front of us today. We're pulling from sources like David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, The Athletic, the big ones.
All heavy hitters, yeah.
Exactly. And we're looking at direct quotes from the executives running these clubs. Okay, let's unpack this. We're going to be comparing the massive management overhauls, the mind-boggling player targets, and the radically contrasting financial philosophies defining this chaotic summer transfer window.
Because what we were seeing right now, it isn't just about replacing a few players on the pitch.
No, not at all.
It's about two rival empires, Manchester City and Liverpool, simultaneously trying to rebuild their entire foundations from the ground up, all while navigating this hyperinflated market that just punishes any sign of weakness.
Yeah, and we really have to start with the people on the touchline, because before a club can even think about authorizing these nine-figure transfers, they need to know exactly who is managing the squad.
Right, you have to know the system you're deploying.
Exactly. Both City and Liverpool are replacing their recent managers, but their approaches are wildly different. Let's start with the blue side of Manchester. City has the impossible task of replacing Pep Guardiola. And who do they turn to? Enzo Maresca.
Yeah, and the argument I've seen in the reports is that Maresca is a familiar face.
Right, he was there before.
Exactly. He served as Guardiola's assistant during that legendary treble-winning season. Paul Merson even went on the record saying Maresca ticks every box because he doesn't need a learning curve to get used to the club.
Wait. I have to push back on this.
Okay, go ahead.
How is hiring Maresca a safe bet? His appointment is literally being held up right now by lawyers negotiating his compensation with Chelsea.
That is true, yeah.
And the only reason they're negotiating is because Chelsea sacked him on New Year's Day. He had like 3.5 years left on his contract and got fired after a home draw with Bournemouth. 1 win in 7 games.
It's a completely fair point.
So why would City trust the keys to the most fine-tuned machine in Europe to a guy who couldn't survive 3 months of winter in London?
Well, you have to look at how Manchester City evaluates failure.
Okay, how so?
They look at Chelsea and they see a chaotic boardroom, a bloated squad of strangers, and just no coherent footballing philosophy.
A total mess, basically.
Right. City's executives, like Tricky Biggerstein, believe Maresca failed because the Chelsea environment is toxic to tactical managers, not because Maresca lacks the tactical acumen himself.
Ah, I see.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, City is terrified of a cultural vacuum. They would rather hire a manager who failed elsewhere but implicitly understands the City way than bring in a wildly successful outsider who might try to, change the menu in the club cafeteria.
Okay, so City wants a manager who will keep his head down and just drive the car that's already built. But then you look over at Anfield, and Liverpool is hitting the reset button in a completely different, almost violent way.
Oh, absolutely.
They've just sacked Arne Slot after a really disappointing 5th-place finish. And to replace him, they're bringing in Andoni Iraola from Bournemouth.
Which is an incredible story in its own right. I mean, Iraola guided Bournemouth to historic 6th-place finish and Europa League qualification.
It's wild. Think about this timeline. Maresca gets sacked by Chelsea right after failing to beat Bournemouth, and now the Bournemouth manager who outperformed Liverpool is taking over at Anfield.
It's a crazy turn of events, yeah.
It feels like City is handing the keys to the Ferrari to the mechanic who helped build it, while Liverpool is hiring a driver who just maxed out a Honda Civic and telling him to build a new engine.
That's exactly it. Liverpool just suffered a massive culture shock under Arne Slot that fundamentally did not work.
Right, they look terrible.
The squad looked lethargic, tactically confused, so they don't want continuity, they want a disruptor.
And Iraola is definitely a disruptor.
Oh, for sure. They are actively looking for a proven Premier League overachiever to shake the players out of their comfort zones. And the mechanism Iraola is going to use is fascinating.
The U.S. tour. Right.
Exactly. He's taking the squad on a massive U.S. preseason tour. They're playing Wrexham, Leeds, and Sunderland. He's going to use that isolated environment away from the English media to just completely tear down the old culture.
Right. Double sessions in the summer heat.
Yeah, he wants to rebuild a high-pressing vertical system in his own image.
Okay, but an engine requires very specific parts. If City is keeping this highly complex tactical machine running, they can't just go to the market and buy any generic replacement part.
No, they need exact fits.
Which explains why their very first target under Maresca has a price tag that literally makes my eyes water.
You're talking about the pursuit of Elliot Anderson.
Yes. Elliot Anderson, the 23-year-old midfielder at Nottingham Forest. The reporting says City has explicitly earmarked him as a primary replacement for Bernardo Silva.
Who is a massive loss for them, by the way.
Huge. So City goes to Forest and submits an opening bid.
And Forest immediately rejects it. They don't even blink.
Exactly. The reports state Forest is looking for a fee in excess of 120 million euros. And they aren't just making that number up.
No, they have a benchmark.
Right. They're specifically pointing to the 116 million that Arsenal paid for Declan Rice back in 2023. They're looking at City and saying, well, if Arsenal paid that much for Rice, you have to pay more for Anderson.
Which is why City has reportedly lined up a plan B. If Forest refuses to budge, City is prepared to pivot to Newcastle's Sandro Tonali.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Anderson is a fantastic player. He made 50 appearances for Forest last season.
Great numbers.
9 goal contributions. That is a great season. But 120 million. Is the transfer market so fundamentally broken that one good season makes you more expensive than Declan Rice? Or is City just desperate to give Maresca his shiny new toy?
Well, it's the latter, but it's rooted in a very specific economic reality of how Manchester City operates.
Okay, break that down for me.
When you play a system as complex as City's, you aren't just shopping for a good midfielder. You are shopping for the exact midfielder who can play half spaces, retain possession under pressure, and understand positional rotations without, like, a 6-month learning curve.
Right, they need him ready on day one.
Exactly. We can call this the tactical fit tax.
The tactical fit tax. I like that. Explain how that actually works in a negotiation.
So think of City's system like a vintage Swiss watch.
Okay.
If a gear breaks, you can't just jam a high-quality piece from a grandfather clock in there and expect it to tick.
Yeah.
You have to custom mill a gear that perfectly locks into your exact cogs.
That makes perfect sense.
So when City knocks on Nottingham Forest's door, Forest knows 2 things. First, they know City has essentially unlimited financial backing.
Obviously.
And second, they know Anderson isn't just a player to City. He is the custom-milled gear they need to prevent their entire tactical system from collapsing when Bernardo Silva leaves.
Wow, so that strips City of all their negotiating leverage.
Completely. Forest knows City isn't paying for Anderson's raw stats. They're paying for certainty.
Oh, I see. They are paying a massive premium to guarantee the midfield doesn't skip a beat on match day 1.
Precisely. It's a luxury very few clubs in world football can afford.
Well, while City is shopping domestically, paying the tactical fit tax, Liverpool is forced to look to the continent.
Right, because of the Iraola shift.
Exactly. They are looking for a massive, much riskier signing to kickstart this new era. Which brings us back to the teenager I mentioned at the top of the deep dive. Yan Diomande.
Yeah, Liverpool is in advanced talks with RB Leipzig for their 19-year-old winger.
And if you thought the Anderson valuation was steep, Leipzig is demanding a fee in excess of 130 million euros for a teenager.
It's wild. And as we said earlier, the price isn't even the wildest part. It's the drama.
Oh, the drama is unbelievable. Right in the middle of these advanced negotiations, Diomande gives an interview to the French newspaper L'Équipe.
It was an incredibly candid interview, especially given the timing.
Candid is putting it mildly. He essentially declared his lifelong love for Paris Saint-Germain. He told the reporter, PSG is a team I've loved since I was a child. My father supports them.
He even said it would be a pleasure to play for them.
Right. And that adapting wouldn't be hard because he speaks French. So I have to ask you, why on earth would Liverpool continue to pursue this?
It's a tough look, for sure.
If you're Iraola, isn't it a massive red flag to drop 130 million on a teenager who is openly flirting with your main transfer rival?
What's fascinating here is the cold, calculated risk assessment happening inside Liverpool's executive team.
Okay, because emotionally, it makes no sense.
Exactly. On an emotional level, it looks terrible. The fans don't want a player who treats Anfield as a stepping stone to Paris. But Liverpool is desperate for an elite, vertical winger to make Iraola's pressing system work.
And Diomande fits that profile.
Flawlessly. But how do they just ignore the quotes?
Yeah, what if PSG comes calling in 6 months? You have a 130 million euro distraction in your locker room.
They can ignore the quotes because Liverpool's analytics and financial departments know something about the market that Diamande's interview doesn't change.
Which is what?
According to David Ornstein's reporting, Liverpool is in a significantly stronger negotiating position than PSG right now.
Explain the mechanism there. If PSG wants him, and he wants PSG. Why doesn't it just happen?
Because of structural financial ability, it's not just about having a wealthy owner anymore. It's about how much of your revenue is tied up in player wages, how your previous transfer fees are amortized, and strict European financial regulations.
Ah, right. The rules actually matter now.
Yeah. PSG might have a strong interest, but their books might be choked up, preventing them from dropping that kind of liquid cash this summer without offloading massive contracts first.
So Liverpool is just stepping over PSG's intent with cold, hard cash.
Exactly. Liverpool has the structural freedom to pull off the deal today. They are essentially calling Diamonde's bluff. They know PSG doesn't have the chips to sit at the high-stakes table right now.
Wow. And they aren't completely blind to the risk either, right? The reports say they have a backup plan.
Yes, Francisco Trinco.
Right. If Leipzig asks for too much, or the PSG flirting becomes too toxic, they have an alternative. But it really highlights how incredibly volatile these transition periods are.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which perfectly transitions us to the bigger question here. We've looked at these massive targets. But how do these specific pursuits actually reflect the broader financial strategies of these clubs?
That's a great question.
Because when you look at the wider financial picture, there is a glaring issue popping up for Liverpool.
You're referring to their outgoing talent.
Yes. Liverpool is sitting there contemplating a $130 million bid for Diamande, but at the exact same time, they are losing highly valuable established veterans for absolutely nothing.
Andy Robertson.
Exactly. A club legend, Champions League winner, walking out the door to Tottenham Hotspur on a free transfer because his contract simply expired. Explain that to me in pure business terms, because to a casual observer, that sounds like terrible management.
In business terms, it is a massive loss of asset value.
Okay, give me an example.
Imagine you own a house that is currently valued at 30 million euros. You have the deed, you have the asset. Now imagine, due to a lapse in a contract, the state legally mandates that your house now belongs to the public domain.
Just like that.
Yep. And whoever walks through the front door first gets to keep it for free. Your asset has instantly depreciated to zero.
That is brutal.
That is what a free transfer is for a football club. They paid wages for years, developed the player, and when he leaves to strengthen a direct rival like Spurs, Liverpool receives zero compensation to reinvest.
That is staggering, especially when you compare it to Manchester City. Yes, City is losing a superstar in Bernardo Silva, but they are managing that exit.
Right. They never let players of that caliber just walk.
No, they ensure they either get a massive transfer fee or they have a structured plan in place. And to really put this massive spending into perspective, we need to look at how their rivals are operating in this exact same hyperinflated environment.
Manchester United is the perfect example here.
Yes. Their chief executive, Omar Barada, recently went on a podcast and outlined a philosophy that is radically different from what we are seeing at Anfield or the Etihad.
I read the transcript of that. He was incredibly blunt about the market.
Very blunt. He stated that United have a clear plan focusing heavily on financial discipline.
Yeah, he essentially issued a public warning to the industry.
Right, saying, we know we can invest and we have to stick to that. Don't let the market or agents dictate what we should be doing.
And we're actually seeing them execute that plan. The reports show they just agreed to a 35 million euro deal for Atalanta's Brazilian midfielder, Ederson.
Exactly. They are actively seeking value. They're looking for market inefficiencies rather than participating in these 120 million bidding wars.
It's such an incredible contrast.
So you have Man United trying to be the sensible coupon clippers at the grocery store, right? Carefully checking the price per ounce on a 35 million midfielder. Meanwhile, City and Liverpool are just sprinting down the aisles, throwing 130 million euro truffles into their carts without even looking at the receipt.
That is a brilliant analogy. But this raises an important question, though.
What's that?
We assume that City and Liverpool's willingness to throw those truffles in the cart is a sign of their immense financial strength. But it might actually be a symptom of panic.
Panic? How so?
When a club brings in a new manager, especially following highly successful or highly chaotic eras, there is immense pressure from the fan base and the media.
Sure, expectations are sky high.
The executives have to prove that the club's ambition hasn't dropped. Sometimes, overpaying for a marquee signing is less about the player's true tactical value and more about buying a highly expensive PR shield for the new manager.
A PR shield, I love that term. But how does it actually work in practice?
Let's look at Maresca at City. If City buys Elliot Anderson for 120 million, Anderson becomes the shiny object.
Okay, I follow.
If City struggles in September and drops points in 3 straight matches, what do the media talk about on Monday morning?
They don't immediately talk about Maresca being out of his depth.
Exactly. They talk about the $120 million midfielder who isn't living up to his price tag. The transfer fee absorbs the media heat, giving the manager time and space to actually implement his tactics in the background.
Wow. That makes so much sense. City is paying that premium not just to get the perfect gear for their Swiss watch, but to shield Maresca from the initial intense scrutiny.
Yes.
And Liverpool is doing the exact same thing with Diomande to shield Iraola and make everyone forget about the disastrous Arne Slot era.
Exactly. But the danger is that if you buy a PR shield and it cracks, if Anderson cannot grasp the positional play, or if Diomande just stops pressing for Iraola because he wants PSG, the financial crater that leaves behind can set a club back for half a decade.
Because you can't just easily sell a failing player on those wages.
Exactly. No one else will pay them. Look at what Barada said at United, ensuring that whatever decision we take is not just for the short term, but also for the long term.
Right.
City and Liverpool are making massive 10-year financial commitments to solve very real but very short-term transition anxieties.
So what does this all mean for you? If you are watching the Premier League this coming August, I want you to realize that you aren't just watching a normal title race. You're watching a €250 million gamble play out in real time.
It really is staggering when you put it like that.
On one side, you have Manchester City betting their entire institutional legacy on a former assistant who was just fired by Chelsea. And they're handing him a massive domestic transfer just to keep the current machine from stalling.
Right.
And on the other side, you have Liverpool hitting the absolute reset button. They're bringing in an overachieving disruptor, letting veteran talent walk out the door for free, and gambling heavily on a continental teenager who is actively pining for a move to Paris.
It's high-stakes poker.
Every single pass, every single mistake this season is going to carry the weight of those decisions. These next few months are quite literally going to define the Premier League hierarchy for the next half-decade.
It really is a masterclass in how massive sports institutions handle the fear of the unknown. And I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder as you watch these mega deals officially cross the line this summer.
Let's hear it.
When a club signs a €130 million player at the exact same moment, a new manager is walking through the door. Whose team is it really?
That is the million-dollar question. Or I guess the €130 million question.
Exactly. Does a manager like Iraola truly have the institutional power to bench an asset like that if Diomande underperforms? Or is the price tag too heavy to ignore?
Right. Because if he flops, who takes the blame?
Is it the brand new coach who just arrived and still figuring out where the training ground is? Or is it the financial executives who signed the massive check before the coach even finished unpacking his desk? When the foundation of a club shifts this violently, accountability is usually the very first